This is Miss Harris. I'm here to talk to you about shape patterns. So sometimes the questions about patterns get a little hard. Of course, we can answer the ones that say, what's the next term? What will be the next two terms? But it gets a little hard when they say, what's the 98? And we can't sit there and draw out 98 shapes. So here's some tips. Patterns are made up of terms. Terms are the objects that are used to create the pattern. A pattern can be colors, shapes, numbers, letters, anything that repeats. Every pattern has a foundation, which is the number of terms it has before it starts to repeat. We can use multiplication to help us find whatever term the question asks us for. The foundation is one of your factors, and then the term that they ask you for would be the product or the multiple that you're trying to get. The missing factor will be the numbered term that the question asks you for. And if your missing term amount is too big of a number, like you're not sure about that multiplication fact off the top of your head, then you can use division, and the remainder will help you find what you're looking for. So let's take a look. The first one says, what would be the 36th term? So your first step, you want to find the foundation. So my pattern is made up of hexagon, hexagon, triangle, hexagon, hexagon, triangle, hexagon, hexagon, triangle, hexagon. So where did the pattern start to repeat? It was after the triangle. So this is my foundation. And my foundation is made up of 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay? So I'm asking myself, 3 times something will get me to my 36th term. So if you're not sure about that multiplication fact off the top of your head, remember you can skip count. So 3, 6, 9. That's 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 6 is. 3 times 7 is. 3 times 8 is. 3 times 9 is. And 3 times 10 is. 3 times 11 is. And 3 times 12 is. So, since this 3, the last number term in my foundation, is a 3, and 36 is a multiple of 3. That means I can multiply 3 by something to equal 36. That means if I keep going with my foundation, that means the 36th term will have to be, eventually, will have to be the triangle. So your answer would be triangle. Let's look at another one. What is the 48th term? Using the pattern, what is the 48th term? So first, let's look at the pattern. I have P, Q, R, T, P, Q, R, T, P, Q. We want to find the foundation. Where is the pattern starting to repeat? After the T. So my foundation is made up of 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 terms. So I'm asking myself, 4 times something will equal 48. I want to know, is 48 a multiple of 4? Meaning, if I keep skip counting by 4, can I get to 48? So let's try it. So 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2, 8. 4 times 3, 12. 4 times 4, 16. 4 times 5, 20. 4 times 6, 24. Sorry. 4 times 7, 4 times 8, 4 times 9, 4 times 10, 4 times 11, 4 times 12. So 48 is a multiple of 4, which means eventually, if I keep making these groups of 4, my 48th term will have to be t. Again, when you first look at the question, find your foundation, and you'll use however many terms are in your foundation to help you find the number that they asked you for. Let's try another. What is the 24th term of this pattern? What do we have? Yellow, red, brown, green, blue. Yellow, red, brown, green, blue. My foundation, where do I start to repeat? It's after the blue. So my foundation is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the number I'm trying to use is 5. 5 times something will equal 24. So, will that work? No. 24 is not a multiple of 5. Simply because if I count by 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, I did not land on 24. So that means your tip from the beginning says that if you won't be able to find that multiplication fact, we're going to do division. So we're going to say 24 divided by 5. And I know my 4th graders, you're using the box method, so I'm going to put this around the box. So I will make my multiplication facts of 5. Start with 0. But again, this is an easier one because most of us, we are able to count by 5 quickly than any other number that we may have to use. And remember, division is all about getting as much as you can without going over. So you could have used your skip count method for this one since it wasn't that big of a problem. 5 times 0 is 5, 5 and 10, 15 and 20 and 25. Okay. So I start in the first box or with my first digit. 5 times something equals 2. The closest I can get to 2 without going over would be using 0. So I have to put 0 on top of the box. 0 goes in the box, and I'm ready to subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. Whatever is left, remember, you take it to the next box, and I drew my 4 too big, but that's okay. 24, so I'm looking for 24, as close as I can get without going over, and that would be 20. So I will put my 4 on top of the box and put 20 inside, and when I subtract, I have 4 remaining. So your important part is the remainder. Whatever you get after you divide, that remainder is what's going to help you. Now, knowing that I don't have 25, so I know that if I count by 5, let's look at it both ways. If I count by 5, I can land on 25, but I want the 24th term. So I'm just going to make an extra group. I'm not going to rewrite everything. So again, if I count and get to 25, because I know 25 is a multiple of 5, I know the 25th term will have to be blue, right? So the question asked me for the 24th. So all I have to do is go back 1, and that means the 24th term will have to be green. Now let's use your division work that you did, because again, if we get a bigger number like 98, And 100, you know, it won't be so simple to just use your skip counting. So after you divide, you're looking at this remainder that you got. That means use the remainder means where your foundation stopped at. You want to go that many more places to find your missing number. So if this is 25, the foundation stops at blue, and I know I'm about to repeat. The remainder said go 4 more. So my foundation repeats. This would be 1 more spot, 2 more, 3 more, 4. So this is how you can use your remainder as well to get the same answer. Let's try another one. What is the 50th term? Press pause and try to start it off by yourself, and then when you get stuck, you can press play. So my pattern says square, oval, rectangle, square, oval, rectangle, square, oval. I want the foundation, which is I want the first part before it starts repeating, and that's here. How many terms make up my foundation? 1, 2, and 3. So I'm asking myself 3 times something to equal 50. Well, that's a pretty big number, and you may know that 50 is not a multiple of 3. So we're going to have to divide. So we're going to divide what the question asks us for, 50, divided by what was our foundation? 3. I'm going to go over here and make the box so I can have more room this time. So my 5 in one box, my 0 in the other box. And I'm dividing by 3. All right, so first I need to make my multiplication facts. Remember, you want your multiplication facts for whatever you're trying to divide by. But if you know your multiplication facts by heart, you won't need to make a list. That's to help. The list is to help those that are still in the process of learning their multiplication facts. And that way all their answer choices are right there in front of them. Okay. And I always tell my students to stop at 5, and that's just so you can go ahead and start working. You won't spend so much time. And if you need more, you can always go back and finish off and find what you need. Okay, so my first box has a 5. I'm trying to see 3 times something to get me close to 5, but I cannot go over. So I need 3. Whatever's touching the top of your line needs to touch the top of your box. Whatever's under your line needs to go in the box, and I didn't draw my box wide enough, but that's okay. So I'm subtracting. 5 minus 3 is 2. Whatever is left when you subtract, you take it to the next box. Now I'm looking for 20 over here in my multiplication. What's the closest I can get without going over? Well, I see where I stopped at 15, but I want to make sure that that's the closest I can get. Ooh, 3 times 6 will be 18. Keep going. Make sure that's the closest I can get. 3 times 7 is 21. So I'm going to use 3 times 6. All right, whatever's touching the top of my multiplication line needs to touch the top of my division line. So 6 goes on top. Whatever's at the bottom goes at the bottom. Minus 18. Remember, when you're subtracting, please don't forget to check and make sure that your biggest digit is on top. If it is not, you need to regroup. Those rules do not change. 10 minus 8 would be 2. I don't have another box to take this over, so therefore 2 is my remainder. All right, when you finish dividing, again, the only part that matters to you is the remainder. So I know I go where my foundation stops. My foundation stops right here. And my remainder tells me to go over or continue the pattern that many places. So this would be 1, and this would be 2. Therefore, what is the 50th term? It's going to be the oval. All right, try one more. What is the 98th term? Ooh, So see, this is why we can't always rely on skip counting, because you're going to be doing a lot of counting, okay, to get to 98. So that's where this strategy comes in to help you. All right, so looking at my pattern, remember to press pause, try it by yourself. Look at my pattern. I have, I guess, dots, circle, dots, square, triangle, circle, dots, square, triangle. All right, where does it start repeating? After the triangle. So I just want this part here. How many turns make up my foundation? 1, 2, 3. So the number that I'm trying to use is 3. 3 times something equals 98. Well, pretty big number. I'm not sure. So therefore, we're going to divide. So I will set up my box. I'll draw me a bigger box this time so I can have room. 9 and 8. And if you're 5th grade, I know you don't use the box method. You use the what we call the division house for long division. And it's pretty much the same thing. 4th grade just puts it in a box. And then we're dividing by 3 because our foundation was made up of 3. Okay. And I know 98 is an even number and you're thinking, oh, but what about that 2? Well, we want to use the whole foundation to be sure. And there are 3 terms that make up the foundation. So remember, if you know your multiplication facts, list them out. If you know them, just go ahead and go from here. So 3 times something to get 9, I can use 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So I subtract what's in the box, and that gives me 0. Take it over to the next box. So I just have 8. 3 times something to get 8. 3 times 3 was 9, so that would be too much. So I need to go down. So 3 times 2 would be 6, and I subtract. That'll equal 2. I don't have another box to move over, so therefore I know my remainder is 2. So again, I only want the remainder, which means where my pattern, my foundation stops at, my remainder says move over 2 more spaces. So 1 and 2. So the 98th term would be a square. Now in this case, because I only had one even number in my foundation, then yeah, 98 is even, so I know 98 would be a multiple of 2. But if my foundation had 4 in it, 98 could work for 2 and 4. So that's why just go ahead and divide. Use the whole foundation and just divide by however many terms are in that foundation. Well, I hope this was helpful. Remember to watch it as many times as you need to in order to get an understanding, and keep practicing. Thanks for watching.